והנה על דרך זה יספרש גם כן מה שאמרו רז"ל, נובלות בינה שלמעלה שכינה. Now similarly we can explain also what our sages said, that that which has fallen down from Bina above is the divine presence, the Shekhinah. Hine kol Yisrael b'nei malachim heim. Now all of Israel, they are sons of kings. Ayin ma shekaz mizeh b'dibur hamaschil v'haya mispar b'nei Yisrael perek aleph. Look what it says in the Maamar, how that the number of the sons of Israel will be like the sands of the sea. B'dibur hamaschil kol dodi b'shir hashirim b'perush melech malchei hamlachim, and in Shir Hashirim where it explains how we say the king of kings. And this that we say this matzah, and from there we can possibly say that the kings are zun za nukva of atzilus v'zeu kol Yisrael b'nei malachim. So the sons of malachim, which are zun, are Yisrael. Him shenimshuchu miyichud zun d'atzilus. They are the ones that are drawn out from the union of za nukva of atzilus. So that's why they are b'nei malachim. So according to that, malchei malachim would be that which is above zun, and melech malchei hamlachim is just that which is above that. So the malchei hamlachim would be perhaps ava, and the melech malchei hamlachim would be perhaps keser or something like that. But if in the simple sense malachim is malchus, so shenimshuchu mibechinas malchus d'atzilus nikra shechina. So if that's the case, so b'nei malachim would be that which comes from malchus. That malchus is called the Shekhinah. And this is the source for the general concept of the root, the source of the souls of Israel, the concept of the Shekhinah, of the divine presence. What it says about the this idea of the gathering of Israel, the congregation of Israel, which in general refers to the source of the souls of Israel and Malchus, as explained in Torah or in Zachor D'Amalek. Wein Valkin in Hamlachim Omrim Shira. That's why the angels, Malachim with an aleph, do not say song, Ad She'yomru Israel Tchila, until Israel says it first. Because we are the representation and what's drawn down from the Shekhinah, from the divine presence. That is to say that the angels wait to say holy until Israel says it below. When that is that because the angels receive only from the 6 sides of the world of Bria, and they're called the chariot of the world of Bria, which is the face of the lion and the face of the ox and so forth. Or the 12 cattle, and the sea above them, that's upon them from above, which is the concept of Malchus above them. Like it says that all of the rivers go to the sea of Malchus. That's why it's called the Yam. So all the rivers go to the sea, meaning to say all the hamshachas from above go into Malchus, and the Yam is Alea Milamayla, is above them, meaning to say they are below the Yam, the Malchus of the Malchus. So basically the point is going to be is that Israel are above them. Therefore, they have to wait for Israel first to do it, and only then can they. But the avos, which are the merkava, meaning the higher merkava, not the merkavta tata, but the merkavta ilah, they are merkava, not to the world of bria, to the vavksavas of bria, but to zav atzilus. I'm betura or pashas yisra b'dibur hamaskil inyan ha'avos hein ha'merkava u'mashikasu b'dibur hamaskil vasu lahem tzitzis b'habir v'ayim b'zohar pashas emor daf tzadik tes b'inyan ha'tkiyos tarat Hashem keneged ha'avos. So look what it says, how the tkiyos showing through a tkiya corresponds with the avos. Benikra avahan ilayin, and they are called the supernal fathers, not just the shvatim, but the supernal fathers. Like it says in the Zohar that Avraham was the chariot for the concept of the chesed of Zera Anpin. And Avraham there is called the grandfather. And Yitzchak was the chariot for the concept of Gvura of Zera Anpin. Also the souls of Israel. That's from Malchus, the sons of their sons, that the B'neihem is in general is Nihi, like the Kavanos of maybe Goel of B'neihem is that which comes from Nihi. The B'neihem, so B'neihem would be Nihi, and B'neihem would be that the Knesset Yisrael of Malchus and so forth. The Geula is the Hamshacha from the Yisod. So B'neihem, that's the avos siman lebanim, that the forefathers give over to the children. And that is when everyone in Israel awakens this love to upwards towards Hashem. Haribis is sarusad l'sat azos morer sarusad le'ila da Avraham Saba. With his arousal from below, it awakens the love of our grandfathers, Avraham, and the concept of bibichinas chesed zachulu, the concept of kindness of Zera Anpin, or the love from above. V'chein al derech zeh b'midos hayira chulu, similarly is with the attribute of fear of Hashem. V'ayin mashikasu b'dibur hamaskil ve'ira el Avraham binyan in korin avos el l'shlosha. Look what it says in the Maamar Va'era about how about the statement of our sages that we do not call fathers only to the three. That in each one in Israel you have this concept of the fathers within them that awakens these emotions towards above of love and fear and mercy. Look what it says about in the Maamar of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu acquired 5 acquisitions. There it talks about the arousal of the soul below, that this awakens above in its source in all the worlds from a Yetzira B'ria Atzilus. That is, that we awaken into our source, into the supernal chariot, Shisham Bechinas Ha'avos, that there is the concept of the fathers. We awaken up to our source in Atzilus. She'amru Israel alu b'machshava. Now our sages said that Israel came up into thought. Perish bechinas Bina. That what's b'machshava? So we're talking about the avos being in Zah, and Knesset Israel being in Malchus. But what's our source? That's in Bina, above that. Shenikra chashav ma. That's called to think about what? The Chochmah. That Chochmah thought Bina. The Chochmah nikra koach ma. Chokhmah is the potential, the ability for ma. Bina nikra chashav ma. And Bina is called the thinking about ma. So it's not just the potential, but it's actually the thought of it. It's a second stage of ma as it comes downwards. The concept of bittul realized. Look what it says in Torah or, but Megillas Esther, when she comes in front of the king with the concept of that she says with the book. Maybe about the concept of Abba Amar Li'ima. And Bina is called the mother of the children. The children of the 6 sides of Ziranpi. That's the concept of Leah, who gave birth to 6 sons. Vayin mizeh b'zohar parshas vayetzi daf kuf nun ches amud aleph v'daf kuf nun gimel amud beis v'daf kuf nun dalet suf amud aleph ve'amud beis. U'b'torah or parshas vayetzi b'dibur hamaschil u'lelavad shtei banos, there it talks about the concept of Leah and the midas. Vainu machshava, and again, so that's Bina is then the concept of thought, which is Leah. And as opposed to Rachel, who's going to be Dibur. Vinikres Em Habanim, and she's called the mother of the sons, the Vav Ksavos Tezav, the 6 sides of Ziran, Pinkidu as is known. Vainu Mashekasu Ba'avos Vekaches Avichem Me'ever HaNahar, and this is what it says about the forefathers, that I took your fathers from the other side of the river. And that is that the forefathers were taken and rooted in Bina of Atzilus, it's called the river. So the other side of the river is beyond Bina. And they were drawn out from Bina to be the Midos. So that's the source of Neshamas Yisrael is there in Bina. The Ola b'machshava. Like it says that the river flows out of Eden from Chokhmah, and the river flows out, which is Bina. Like it says in Zohar, about your forefathers sat on the other side of the river. Mem Shin Ayin Me'inyan Perish Alu B'Machshava. Mashikaz of Od, Mashniz Bor Od, I don't know. With the concept of that they came up in thought, B'Bira Hasheni, you'll find that in the second Bira, Al Pasuk Yonasi B'Chag V'Yasela, in that Maimer, where it talks about we came up in thought. V'ay Mashikaz V'Namazsu of Pashas Korach D'Bina Ilahi Nichlalas B'Yud Shel Shem. Look what the Ramaz says in Zohar Korach about how the supernal Bina, it's included within the Yud of the name. The Yud is spelled Yud Vav Dalid, and the Yud itself is Chokhmah, and the Vav Dalid would be Bina. Dahinu Shu Vav Dalid Demilo Yud. We know that the Yud Shel Shem Zeu Atzilus Shabbat Atzilus, and it's known the Yud of Hashem's name is Atzilus of Atzilus. So if the Hashem's name corresponds with the world of Atzilus, and each one of the letters corresponds with a different world within Atzilus, so the Yud of the name corresponds with Atzilus of Atzilus. Like it says in the Bir, how he commanded them to the sons of Israel. So it's found then that which comes from Bina, which is the source above, that's called thought. Who Shkina? That's the Shkina. What's the Shkina? The Shkina is the dwelling place of Hashem within this world, which is the source of the souls of Neshamas Yisrael. So that which comes from Bina, that we come from Bina, we're the souls of Israel, which is the Shkina. Because this, that the divine presence shines into the worlds and into the angels. It's only that which has come from and fell down from, so to speak, the concept of Bina of Atzilus alone. Ki Shechina hi bechinas dvar havaya bechinas dibur ve'alma diskalya, because the concept of Shechina, of the dwelling place of Hashem as it dwells, that's the concept of the word of Hashem, the concepts of speech and the revealed world. V'zeu inyan hektana, that's Rachel. That's the concept of the small hay. The small one is Rachel. Hanikra alma diskalya, the revealed world, that which came from Bina, which is Machshava, is Dibur. V'nikra Shmita, which is, and it's called Shmita, Sheamru, like it says, V'zeh dvar hashmita, like it says, this is the word of the Shmita. So the dvar, the word, is the Rachel, the speech, corresponds with Shmita. So that implies all the other 7 levels are leading up to the Shemitah, and the Shemitah is the Malchus. And in the speech does not shine the essence of the supernal thought. That's called the supernal Bina. That's tied to the essence of intellect, which in the concept of the 2 friends that don't separate, the point within its palace, the palace being Bina and the point within it being Chachma. Those 2 together, the source and essence of intellect. The essence of the concept of thought is Yovel, so which is higher than Shemitah. So I guess Yovel is Bina, whereas Malchus is Shemitah. So in this, I've seen before or heard the idea of Machshava v'Yovla being Chochma and Bina, where Yovel is Bina and Machshava being Chochma. But here we're saying that Machshava is the Yovla. Asher Atzmius HaMachshava Hu Yovla. Like we said, that Chochma is Koachma and Bina is Chashavma. So here Machshava and Yovla are the same idea. V'nikreis Almadis Kasyan. It's called the hidden world. Raksh Novlos Shel Machshava Heila Hu Mir Bahadibur. It's only that which falls down, so to speak, from the thought, from the higher hay into the lower hay, which into the speech, which we said was Rachel. V'zeu Novlos Bina Shel Maila, and that's which falls down, which falls down from Bina above. Hi Heila Shkina. Is the Heila, is the Shkina, Nikra Heitatachu, that's that which falls down is the Shkina, which is the lower hay. Similarly, the idea that's brought in Eitz Chaim, that the heels of Leah go into the head of Rachel. So this has to do with how the Partsufim are configured, the spiritual configuration of the spiritual levels, how Leah, the partsuf of Leah, is above the partsuf of Rachel, and the nihi, the concept of nihi of Leah, corresponds with Rosh Rachel. Both of them overlap the concept of Yaakov or Zah. That the higher levels of Chabad Chagas of Zah would be where Leah overlaps, and the Rosh Rachel would be where the Nihi of Leah is. That's also where Chabad of Leah is, of Rachel is. Nihi of Leah corresponds with the same level of Chabad of Rachel. Let's say it's perhaps in Chagas. Within Chagas of Zah, you're going to have Leah and Rachel overlap. The bottom of Leah, of the levels of Leah, and the tops of the levels of Rachel. Because the big hay is Leah. look what it says about the concept of in the beer that Yaakov sat in the land, where it says the land twice. I guess each concept of the land would be a hay. Eretz Ilan, Eretz Sata, maybe. Now through this concept of the arousal from below, that awakens an arousal from above in Bina, that draws down into the emotional attributes of Zah from Bina, canal, which is called the supernal fathers, like we said. And from there it shines the light into the concept of Malchus. Shechina, it's called the Shekhinah. And from Malchus it shines into the worlds, into the angels, in the canal, which is called the chariot of the world of Bria, like we said. By the concept of the Shvatim canal. Now the angels receive only from the external and the lower level of the light that's drawn through Israel with the arousal from below. Because Israel is the higher level, because they came up in thought of Bina, Novelos, Bina, Shalomila, Shechina, Chulu, and that which came down from Bina is the Shechina, the dwelling of, is the souls of Israel. That's why they do not sing song until Israel does first. The angels have to wait. And they have to draw down to the light to them as well, like we said. That's why it says by Avraham, when the angels came to visit him, that he was standing above them, because he was above them, because he was a chariot to the concept of the kindness of Zera and Pina Nikra Avraham Saba Kanal, which is called the grandfather Avraham, like we said. Look what it says about the concept of how the forefathers are the concept of the chariot. That through their elevation from below, they draw down from Chochmah and Bina into the concept of Keser, that's above Chochmah and Bina. Look what it says about the idea of my heart says, request my countenance. So I guess the concept of the Merkava is not just Zah, but as we're saying here, it's a concept that they draw down all the way from Keser into Chochmah Bina and to draw down. Why does Zah have this ability? The Merkava, which corresponds with the Shishak Ksavos, the Midos of Atzilus. Because of the expression in the Zohar that Zah is Ba'atika Achir V'Talia. Zer Anpin is united and hangs from, or dependent upon Atik in Keser. Panimius Keser. Vain means therefore it pushes out and can draw down from Keser into Chochmah Bina. Vain means Bibir al Pasuk Simini Kechos and Binyan Sos Titalia Naliba. Look what it says in the concept of place me as a seal, which is the idea of tefillin. Kechosam al libecha, kechosam al zroecha, seal upon your heart, a seal upon your arm. The concept of the straps of tefillin that hang upon the heart. That it's a concept of the crown. The tefillin is a crown upon your head, but it hangs down upon the heart because it's the keser draws down into the midos of Zah. Therefore, it's understood that through the song of Israel, we draw down from the concept of Keser, which is Malchus of Ein Sof. So I guess the Malchus below draws down from its source of Malchus of Ein Sof. It says that the avos, our forefathers, is not just chashav ma of Bina, but our source is even higher. And a glimmer of this is drawn into Malchus, which is the source of Bria Yitzira Siyav, and this is the meaning of the pasuk, like a city where they're gathered together. Like it's brought in the concept of these are the countings of the Mishkan of the testimony. Like we brought the whole idea of Edus and the idea of Eda, a congregation, a source. He's scholarless in its source. Everything is included within its source. That's Chubra Layachtav, the ear, the city that everyone is there, gathered together. It's the Makor of Neshamos, Israel, and the like. And look what it says about the concept of the lower concept of Shekhinah and the higher concept of Shekhinah, Shehim Beis Bechina Skala, the two concepts of the bride. There's close nefesh and the concept of kala, meaning destruction. There's a lower level of bittul and a higher level of bittul. Each one draws down a higher or a lower level of dwelling of the divine presence. Whether it's from Bina or Malchus, there's two concepts of kala, just like Yaakov married both Leah and Rachel, and it's mentioned in Shirashim twice. The love between the chassan and the kala. And this also draws down two different chassans, two different ideas of two different lights. That's why the angels wait to sing song till Israel says first. And look what it says further about the concept of Bina in Lech Lecha. That Avraham travels down from Bina, or the great shofar is Bina. Like where you blow the shofar of Yovel. There in Zohar Yisro it says that there's a king above. So if Malchus is below, there's also a melech above. Now these two concepts of Bina and Shekhinah are called and expressed in the concept of Megillas Esther, that in the king's party you had Vidar, which means to dwell, which is the Shekhinah, V'sochares, and means to surround, which is Bina. It's also brought in Oratora on Megillas Esther. V'herich mizeh b'pardis b'shara kinoim perek daled. Ube erech kinoim erech dar v'erech suchares. Look in Pardis about this. V'zeu l'dur v'dur hamlichu. And this is the meaning of from generation to generation we will make you king. So the dar, to dwell, is also, I guess, dependent, is similar to the concept of dur. From dwelling to dwelling, from the Shekhinah above to the Shekhinah below, we make Hashem king. You have the concept of king above and the king below. Like he brought from the Maamar, or he brought from Zorachilik Beis, Bayish Pashis Yisro, Ismelech La'ela, and so forth. So Ketzer, Inyan Pirush Novelos, Bina Shalomai Shechina, we brought the concept of that which falls down from Bina above is the Shechina. Shechina Bechinas Malchus V'dibur. Shechina corresponds with kingship and speech. Misham Neshama Shebeguf. From there is the soul in the body. Bnei Malachim, they are the sons of kings. What are the kings? Him Zun, that Zun Nukva Malachim, and the angels Merkavas Shechina. That's the chariot of the Shekhinah, Revav Tzavos de Bria. They are the 6 sides of the world of Bria. Below that, Shnei Asar Bakar v'Hayam Aleim L'maylan. That's the concept of the 12 cattle within the world of Bria, and the sea upon them from above, which is Malchus. Acha'avos Merkavta Ilah. But the forefathers are the supernal chariot Chagas Dezav Chesed Gvur Tiferes of Zeran Pina Vatzilus. Finally, Bechinas Shechinta Ilah, And that's the concept of the higher Shekhinah, Bina, Machshava, Yovel, which is Bina, which is thought, and the Yovel. Hey Gedola Be'ever HaNahar, the higher, the big hay, which is on the other side of the river, of Bina, Yashva, Vosechim, your fathers sat, meaning to say that's their source, above in Bina. And in each one in Israel, each one of the neshamos, you have the source of the souls. You have they're rooted in the avos. Al kain ein hamlachim omrim shira. So if that's our source, that we're above the source of the malachim, that we come from bnei malachim zun of etzilus and higher from bina. Therefore, the malachim are below in the lower merkava. Therefore, they have to wait. They do not say song ad she'yomru Israel shalu b'machshava. They do until Israel says it, that we came up in thought. And through the song of Israel, we draw down from Atika Kadisha into Chachmum Bina. And it also shines all the way to the Malchus, to the lower level of Shkina, Novelos, Bina, Shalamaila, which is called that which is fell down from Bina above. And brought the concept of the city, that they're all gathered together. The source, in their source, it's all gathered together, like we're bringing in this Maamar Vayakal of the concept of gathering of the souls of Israel. Ein v'zor v'yeshev daf kuf pe gimel sufam al-bez v'ayin b'torah or pashas ki sisa suf tibur hamatzchil smol otachas l'roshi. Look in the Maamar that his left hand is under my head. Gabi uv'chol meodecha, about the concept of with all of your might, which in general reaches up to the highest level as well.